Welcome to the fastest growing wrestling podcast out there today. Welcome to the Will You Stop podcast. As always, my name is Brandon, joined by my tag team partner, Avi. Avi, what's going on? We're back.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I guess let's start out with the last major event in wrestling that we kind of missed. We haven't been on about a week or two. That fabulous Saudi show. We had a feeling it was not going to be great. It wasn't all awful. It wasn't the worst thing we've seen. Triple H and Orton gave us a typical Triple H and Orton match. I think the talk of the town, obviously, was what happened with Goldberg and Undertaker. You had a match where this should have happened in 2003, but it didn't for whatever reason. I mean, they were big on the brand extension at that point, but honestly, two names that big, they should have been headlining SummerSlam 2003, Survivor Series 2003, Royal Rumble 2004. Vince definitely missed the boat on that one. That was a big money feud that people were salivating over. That being said, you have the match in 2019. Undertaker hasn't looked good in years, okay? His legacy is what's carrying him now. Goldberg, for what it's worth, is 52, 53 years old?
Correct.
52.
Okay. He looked pretty good for a guy that age. I mean, he definitely has not been lacking in the gym. He's obviously taking care of himself. But here's the issue I had with that match to begin with. You have two guys that have never been great workers. Undertaker's always told great stories. His matches were never great. They were good as long as he had somebody to work with, a.k.a. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Brock Lesnar. That's when you got good matches out of The Undertaker. Everyone talks about the Hell in the Cell with Foley. If those two have a regular Hell in the Cell without Foley dying a couple of times, you're not discussing that match 20-some-odd years later. If you look at the Hell in the Cell he has against HBK, people still talk about that match for a reason. And if you actually watch the match, it's basically a 35-minute match with 32 minutes of which Shawn Michaels is getting absolutely just destroyed in a classic blow-off to an angle where the heel is getting killed. So, you're not going to get great matches out of Taker unless he has somebody well to work with. Goldberg, outside of his match against DDP at Halloween Havoc 98, I mean, I can't think of any other great matches that guy's ever given us unless you can come up with one.
Scott Hall ladder match, but otherwise you're right. He hasn't had a lot of great matches.
The Scott Hall ladder match was like a 9-minute ladder match. How was it defined as a good match, let alone a great match?
Well, Scott Hall is a great worker too. So to your point, unless he has someone great to work with,
All right, I'm going to disagree with the ladder match, but we'll agree the DDP match is probably his best match he had. That being
great match.
This match was going to be a disaster, and it didn't meet our expectations. I think it rose well above our expectations for what a disaster of a match is. The fact that neither one of them walked out of there with major injuries is amazing. I mean, he posts himself 3 minutes into the match, giving himself a concussion, so he's basically knocked out for the remainder of the match. He busts himself open, which was a pretty cool visual, but otherwise it didn't do much for the match. They botched the tombstone, 2 or 3 times to the point where they both just fell down. He botches a rolling knee bar attempt. He takes a jackknife and turns it into a really awkward-looking brainbuster.
Brainbuster, yeah.
I mean, this was by far, this should have been a negative 10-star match. Meltzer gave it a dud. I think Meltzer was just being kind to their legacy because, honestly, this was possibly the worst match in wrestling history.
He hit his head really early into the match. I still feel that it really could have gotten better if he didn't ram his freaking head into that pole, into the turnbuckle. I mean, he turned around. He was so dazed that he couldn't even turn around for the choke slam. And I wonder if it would have been a different result if he didn't hit his head and concuss himself.
Well, Avi, I want to step in for 1 second because, our usual listeners may hear a third voice in this conversation. So I think we just got to step back and introduce our third participant here this week. You want to do the honors?
I'll let you take it away.
As all you know, guys, every week it's been me and Avi. We've been talking about how we've been fans for over 30 years. And today we're joined by Avi's brother, Izzy, who's been a fan just as long. and he's finally joining us after dodging us for 9 episodes.
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for bringing me on the show. I've been a huge fan since. I mean, I watched it with you guys really in the 80s, but I didn't really start to really religiously watch it until 95. That was really when I really started.
But back to the point about my opinion about the Goldberg and Undertaker match. One, that rolling knee bar was before he busted his head.
That's true.
So there is no excuse for him messing that up except for the fact he doesn't know how to do it. Two, you take into account, besides him busting into a concussion, they're wrestling in 100-degree weather. Do you realize how disgusting that was and how much heat was in that ring? On top of the fact that you got a guy bleeding from his head, I mean, in that heat, there is no way Goldberg was of his right mind. But going back to what you said, Izzy, even if he did get that concussion and didn't ram his head, I don't think it's going to be a good match to begin with. You got two guys in their early to mid-50s in 100-degree weather, and you got to take into account it was the main event. It might have been 7 o'clock for us, but it was like almost 2 a.m. for them. Their show started at 9 p.m. their time. That means Goldberg and Taker didn't go on till almost 2 a.m.
It's true.
That was the stupidest decision WWE made, besides putting that match on, is throwing them in those circumstances also. That was doomed to fail from Jump Street. There was no way they were going to salvage that. That should have been a 2-minute squash.
Sure.
Spear, like you saw, kick up. It goes for another spear. Undertaker goozles him, choke slams him, tombstone, the end. That should have been it.
The match never should have happened. You're rambling on about a match that never should have taken place. There's no good way to have this match. Unless those guys are down at NXT, the training center, training for 2 to 3 months, getting themselves in wrestling shape, in ring shape, you are not going to get a good match out of those two guys. They're not great to begin with.
They should have practiced more. I mean, 101 degrees. I mean, Orton and Triple H had a great match, and I used to think that the botches were because of the whole setup, and they put on a pretty good match. So it's obviously not really the setup. It's just they had two over-the-hill guys that didn't practice their match, and it flubbed.
No, there's this NXT training center that's supposed to be there for guys to work on things. Why would two guys in their mid-50s who know they're going to have a match, one of which hasn't wrestled since, last year's WrestleMania, the other one hasn't wrestled since I don't even know how long either, and you're going to throw them in a match and expect what exactly? They were never great workers to begin with. Those guys should have been like Warrior and Hogan, spending 3 weeks literally going over the match, every freaking detail of the match. Then maybe you could have gotten a passable match out of them. Otherwise, you got to it was disgusting. Honestly, if a non-wrestling fan would have seen that match, they would have looked at you like, what the hell are you watching?
I agree.
Brandon, there was no way you can justify this match happening.
Oh, no, you don't understand. Like I said to you last week, I believe it was privately, the match should never have happened. But the fact that it did happen is what we have to
give this a rundown on how it should have gone down. It never should have happened, period.
Well, when Vince is all about money and he's going to do whatever the Saudi prince wants and look over the fact that he should not be putting two 50-year-old guys in the ring, you're going to get a shit show. And I guarantee you're going to get another shit show come November when they go back there and they pull some other fossils out. It's ridiculous.
But for the risk of getting yelled at by you guys, can I just say something? Ric Flair in his 60s, he's a great worker. He was still running around the ring in the 60s, so was it really age at that point?
He was regularly working. You have to get into ring shape. Neither one of these guys were in shape to be in that match. Undertaker hasn't looked healthy in years.
I know.
It's time for him to retire, move on, and that's it. There's no rhyme or reason for Undertaker to be still wrestling. And Goldberg, you know what? I mean, honestly, has Goldberg ever resonated with fans once WCW went down?
No, he had a horrible one-year run with WWE. He had a short spurt of a nostalgia run a couple years ago, and he hasn't even stepped in the ring since then. I don't think he's even done anything wrestling related since WrestleMania would be 34, right? Yeah. So, I mean, Undertaker's last match, I believe, was last November. That was the last Saudi show, and that's the tag team match with DX against the Brothers of Destruction. So you got two guys who haven't been in the ring for over 6 months. And I was listening to Ric Flair talking on Busted Open Radio, and he made a very good point. It's very easy to jump on a Stairmaster, but to get into ring shape and actually be in that ring and working in that ring, it's a totally different animal. And that goes back to your point, Izzy. You made a point that Ric Flair in his 60s, but he was still on the road and he was in that ring every single night, 4 or 5 nights a week. He never got ring rust.
Sure,
These
Goldberg.
guys.
I was going to say Goldberg. So rusty, and when he was fighting with Kevin Owens and Lesnar, he didn't really have any long matches. It was just more of a novelty run, like you were saying. It was more of
When did
a
he ever have
nostalgia
a long
thing.
match, period, though?
Yeah,
The DVD match was probably his longest match ever.
it was a great match.
Besides that, has he ever had a match that was over 10 minutes? And I think that's being kind.
Listen, it goes back to whenever they speak to Kevin Nash about why he took the belt off of Goldberg back at Starrcade '98, he put it best. He goes, "You can't have a champion who can go no more than 10 minutes." There are certain guys, it takes them 15, 20 minutes just to tell a story sometimes. Like, imagine you have a match, let's say, between, I don't know, AJ Styles and Seth Rollins, let's just say, and they give him 5 minutes to work, 10 minutes to work. You're going to get nothing out of that. And when you have a one-dimensional champion like that, somebody who comes in and can give you nothing more than 10, maybe 12 minutes on a good day. And out of those 10, 12 minutes, it's going to consist of 9 minutes of him either A, no selling something, or B, beating the shit out of somebody. It's hard to justify that guy being where he is in the roster. And to me, I was never a huge Goldberg fan. He was cool to watch because it kind of brought me back to the old days of where the Warrior and Hogan and guys like that were coming up the ranks and just squashing guys. And yeah, his streak was fun to watch. But let's be honest. When you're wrestling in a main event scene and you're a wrestler, besides being able to dish out punishment and have a cool finisher and have a cool gimmick and have a great shoot, you have to be able to sell. Hogan was 6'8", 303 pounds, and he was fighting monsters, and he sold it to a T that, yeah, he was in trouble. He was hurt. He was going to lose the belt. Even when he went against Savage, and he was much bigger than Savage, you felt like this guy was in trouble. Has Goldberg ever sold you on the fact that, he's in trouble right now? The guy literally no-sells any offense anyone's ever thrown at him. And the few times he has lost, every time he gets hit with the finisher, he's up and walking around 2 minutes later.
Yeah. Well, Steve Regal. Remember Steve Regal? He put him through the grinder in that match. That was like one of his only times he was really tested.
I mean, Goldberg, to me, was always some sort of a novelty act for Bischoff. He had a good gimmick. He had the streak. But exactly, like you just made a point, Avi, for a babyface to get sympathy, he needs to be in trouble. Goldberg was never that babyface in peril. He was never Ricky Morton. He was never, I'm stumbling on my words, but I think you get my point.
I think a guy like Goldberg, to me, would have been better suited, to be quite honest with you, as a heel.
They tried that. Didn't really work with the hired gun. Remember that? That was a flop.
That was also Vince Russo writing that. So let's not get into that. We might be here for a few hours.
Okay, you want to talk about the other shit show that occurred at that Super Show? How about Shane O'Mac?
Yep. I was going to get to that next. Yeah. I mean, he actually talking about making someone, getting the fans to sympathize. He was, in a way, I mean, I know it sounds crazy. He was kind of carrying Roman Reigns as like the kind of sympathizing with the fact that he was dominating him for a little bit, doing the classic heel, even though I think he's getting a little crazy with this already.
I mean, now I'm hearing Shane McMahon might be Kofi for the belt.
Yep.
What the fuck are you doing? You're taking a guy who's 47 years old, who was never a wrestler, who would wrestle once a year because of his high spot that he always pull off, and you're going to put the championship on him?
It's crazy.
And this is why WWE and its creative is where it's at now, because of brainiac ideas like this. Why the hell would that even be in a conversation?
Is he getting heat? Like, is he actually getting that real heel heat train? I don't think so, right? He kind of sounds dead when he comes out, unless I'm
No,
crazy.
if anything, he's got X-Pac, Jeff Jarrett heat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess that's sort of go away heat.
Guys, I'll take it a step further. Honestly, right now, who in the WWE is getting any real heat?
I don't know.
No one, because the heels don't know how to be proper heels, just like the faces don't know how to be proper faces. No one in that company knows how to play their roles correctly.
That's right. That's right. I was commenting the other day to you guys saying that there was no heat, no pops, nothing when I was watching Raw. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was so crazy.
That's amazing. I was watching this special in Viceland. It's called The Wrestlers. I don't know if you guys ever watched it or not. And they take a look. It's like documentary style. They take a look at different aspects of wrestling. They look at Japanese women wrestling. They look at some of the older wrestlers moving on. There was one episode I watched today which really focused on CZW. You know, I was never into we loved ECW for what it was worth, but ECW was never that ultra violent, hardcore style people made it out to be. You know, you had blood, you had chair shots, you had table shots, you had the occasional barbed wire, but I mean, the CZW stuff with the light bulbs and the glass and the barbed wire and the death matches they have and stuff like that, it's like a different level. And it's funny because the reason I'm bringing it up is because in the documentary they were talking about niches and how wrestling, the ratings might be down right now, but worldwide, wrestling is probably more popular than it's ever been. You know, you have your lucha niche. You know, Ring of Honor has its little niche. Even Impact, to a degree, has its niche. CZW also has its niche with that hardcore audience. But then you take a look at WWE, and what is their niche right now? It's almost like I feel like I'm watching a TV show about a wrestling federation. I don't feel like I'm watching a wrestling federation anymore. You know, whereas AEW, I think, is going to be your classic wrestling federation. I think they start up soon because some of their guys like Moxley are going to independent shows, which to me, by the way, we're going to discuss this soon. If I'm Moxley's manager or talent agent, I'm asking him, what the fuck are you doing? What if you get hurt in some bullshit show in the middle of Jersey? And you got AEW coming up, which is a golden opportunity for you to really make your name in this business. You're risking all that for a fucking indie show somewhere at Six Flags? We'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, look at WWE. WWE always had a niche audience. You know, it was always your mainstream wrestling federation that kind of was the standard bearer for the business. What is WWE now, though? It's literally a show about a wrestling federation. Honestly, it doesn't resemble a wrestling federation to me anymore.
To me, it rides on its legacy, and it uses the legacy of their fans who are hoping that they're going to bring their children in, but they're not doing anything to develop new fans and a new fan base, and that's might be one of their biggest downfalls. And I say downfall from a creative. So let's say the facts. WWE is not going anywhere unless Vince decides to sell. They got enough money stored away. This isn't '97 again where they were talking about bankruptcy.
Stop. That is Vince McMahon's bullshit sympathy card to the WWE universe. Even Bruce said Vince McMahon was nowhere near going bankrupt. I'm stepping on that one right now.
He didn't have enough money to pay Hart, though. He told Hart to go to WCW. It wasn't that the whole
He
thing?
didn't want Hart anymore. The guy had plenty of money. First of all, he was losing the ratings battle to WCW in North America. His ratings in Canada were still higher. The ratings in Europe were still higher. Ratings in Australia were still higher. Ratings in Japan were still higher. They were selling out internationally. They were selling out pay-per-views. Their house show business was doing fine. He was not going bankrupt anytime soon. That was the Vince McMahon to the WWE Mark universe. Oh my God, we're in trouble. It's us against the world. Bullshit. Vince McMahon was doing perfectly fucking fine.
I went by what Jim Ross said this week on his podcast. I listened to Jim Ross, and he said that there was a conversation about them going to bankruptcy. So that's where I pulled that from. Not from a Vince, anything about Vince. I pulled that from a Jim Ross thing. So, I mean, I guess we'll take that with a grain of salt. You always said that you feel JR's story changes to fit his needs, right?
How can a company that was zero in debt go into bankruptcy?
They were losing money, apparently, according to JR. I mean, obviously, I wasn't there. I have no clue, but according to, I'm going by, like I said, people who were there. Didn't Bruce once say that they were also talking about it?
Stop. Brandon, you go into bankruptcy when you owe money because you're losing money. When you owe money to creditors and you owe more than you're making, that's when you go into bankruptcy. Vince McMahon, when he went public, said the man was debt-free. He was never been in debt.
We'll never know the truth too because they were a private company at the time before they, went public. And when they went public, they were already turning it around at that point. So
losing money does not mean you go bankrupt. You go bankrupt when you can't keep up with your creditors and you owe people money. You didn't owe money to anybody. Even if they're worse, they were still a top 5 rated show on cable. And like I said, internationally, they were still doing fine. It's the Vince McMahon sympathy, us against the world bullshit that the WWE Universe is always falling for. He was never close to bankruptcy. God, you're with your comment over there.
My comment. I just go by what I'm listening to.
Yeah, of course you do.
I forgot you were there.
No, but I know
anyway.
Fact, you're not going to go into bankruptcy unless you owe people too much money. How could you owe people too much money when you're debt free?
He was debt free when he went public, huh? Is that what it was? Is that what you're going by?
Okay, granted, he was losing the rating war in America. He was winning everywhere else.
Yeah. Did WCW have that much international clearance back then?
I understand from listening to Eric Bischoff's podcasts. They were big in Japan, and they had a New Japan deal, obviously. But other places like Australia, Europe, definitely not as big as WWE. I mean, they would go to they would go to Ireland, they would go to Britain, they would go to Germany on tour, but nowhere near the reach WWE had. I mean, McMahon's first international tour was back in 1985. There was a famous cage match between Andre the Giant and Kamala in South Africa. Kamala survived that match beyond me to this day, but if you ever have a chance to watch Andre brutalize somebody in a cage for about 15 minutes, watch the Kamala Andre cage match. Andre must have been pissed that day, Kamala. Back to what we were saying. I mean, it's just I don't know what WWE. Listen, I mean, you can think maybe they have something planned for the big October surprise where they go to Fox, but I mean, I haven't watched an episode of Raw SmackDown in months. I can say afterwards, this was 3 hours or 2 hours of wrestling well spent. I mean, last Monday night, what were there, 3, maybe 4 matches tops?
It's terrible.
I didn't even watch either show last week. Do you know that?
To be honest with you. I skimmed through them real quick on fast forward, but I haven't watched an actual full show of either one of them live on fast forward, and I can't even tell you how long because you're at a point now where there's nothing to watch. I mean, even the one thing that I truly enjoyed, which were the Bray Wyatt skits, those got ridiculous after a while, and now you're at a point where it's just gone from the ridiculous to the sublime. I mean, they're not even fun to watch anymore. It's like I've been saying in the last couple of podcasts, October can't come soon enough with AEW. I think the difference is going to be with AEW, where as WWE has become a TV show about a wrestling federation, AEW is going to be a traditional wrestling federation.
I agree. Avi, I wanted to ask you something about the AEW. So, I mean, and you're a big wrestling historian, so I want to ask you. I don't remember ever seeing a debuting promotion selling out like the way they're selling out. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't remember a company in North America since WCW in 1998 selling out. They're selling out. Let's be honest. I mean, back in the 80s, NWA, they had pretty decent crowds here and there. Smaller arenas. Most of the arenas ECW went to in the 90s were old NWA, WCW, early 90 arenas. So you were getting 5,000, 6,000 people. A few times they go to a couple of stadiums like Legionnaire Stadium, I think it was called, in North Carolina, where they put 27,000 for the bash. But the only company in North America that's had those really huge numbers has always been WWE. WA once pulled 23,000. They pulled 23,000 in a 60,000 seat stadium. So it wasn't that impressive looking, though it was an impressive number. So you had other federations get big numbers, but I think AEW at this point, I mean, they're turning fans away.
I know.
You're at a point now where fans are really clamoring to get a real modified wrestling federation. Listen, New Japan sold out. The Japanese company to America to sell out. And, it's not hard to keep up with wrestling federations anymore. Remember, back in the 80s, when cable was gone from New York City for about a year and a half long period, the only way I was able to keep up with the NWA, AWA World Class were through the after magazines. All I really had was WWE on Channel 5. Everything else, you had to watch it until cable came back. I couldn't. It was basically tapes that were coming out. I remember I watched Great American Bash 86. I finally got to watch it in like December of 86, 6 months after the fact. Outside of that, I was basically going with the after magazines. Now information travels so fast. I mean, you can keep up with any federation you want, whether they're on TV or not. But that being said, you're about to enter an era of wrestling where for the first time since the mid-80s, you're going to have 6 wrestling federations on TV at the same time. I mean, at one point in the 80s, your national television, as far as that goes, was basically WWE, NWA, AWA, World Class, and occasionally you would get UWF, depending on how the wind was blowing that day. Now, you're talking, as of October, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor in most markets, unfortunately not in New York, Impact on a crappy channel, going strong every single week, okay? Evolve is on TV in most markets. And, how many, NWA affiliates are on TV now regularly? So wrestling, granted, WWE, which has always been the standard bearer, their ratings might be down, but the business as a whole is probably more popular than ever because otherwise it wouldn't be on TV as much as it is. And I think all these wrestling federations is that a lot of them seem to have or are finding their niche. New Japan definitely found its niche. I mean, they're at the point now where they're confident enough to start ripping on WWE. I don't know if you guys saw that comment they made.
Yeah, I did.
So they're on TV every week. Granted, they're a couple of weeks behind, but still giving us some great TV. Their live stuff is fantastic. Ring of Honor, I'm not getting the New York market anymore, but when I did, they had some good stuff. Impact, like I said, is still holding on. But if you look at it, like I said, each one of them has their own niche. New Japan has that, hard Japanese style. Impact now is starting to get, I would say, almost that old school Canadian style they used to have. It's a little more technical, a little more slow paced, indie style, I guess you would call it, but not the high spots so much, but more mat based. So Impact now, with I guess the influence of Cyrus now is starting to get their own niche. Ring of Honor, kind of close to New Japan, but in a less, I guess, hard way, so to speak. AEW remains to be seen, but I think their niche is going to be what wrestling should be, a wrestling federation. Good guy versus bad guy. Let's feud. Let's fight over something and go from there. What is WWE's niche right now? The WWE style is beyond words boring at this point. NXT shows what the WWE style could be and what the WWE style should be. So it does give you hope for the future. But unfortunately, right now, they're not bringing that every Monday or Tuesday or Sunday nights once a month. They're bringing us garbage in the ring. Instead, you need those feuds. And right now, WWE is just not bringing us any feuds. You don't need great matches to have a great feud. We've seen that time and time again. How many great matches did Hulk Hogan ever have in his whole entire fucking career? Seriously, if you put a gun to my head and said to me, give me 10 great Hulk Hogan matches, I don't know if I could. But Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan. Even Steve Austin at his prime, 98, 99, and then again in 01 when he came back. How many great matches did Steve Austin ever have?
Exactly. To your point of, we've talked about this. How many attitude era matches were great? It wasn't about the matches. It was about the stories and the angles. That's what made the Attitude Era. There wasn't 5-star matches during the Attitude Era.
But here's the thing: you don't need great matches all the time in any federation. If you look at it, you look at Steamboat Flair when they had their classic matches. It wasn't it was basically a classic wrestling feud, good guy versus bad guy over the belt, but there was nothing else really to it. They had a couple of shoots back and forth. They never really jumped each other. They never really put the odds against each other. It was just straight up wrestling. And you can still do that. You don't need those outlandish storylines. You need consistency is what it really comes down to. Give us a 5-6 month feud with two guys bad mouthing each other, going back and forth and beating the crap out of each other and jumping each other. I'm fine with that. You don't need these flashy, in-depth Russo era type feuds where you have all these twists and turns and crazy nonsense. Just give us the old classic, good guy versus bad guy. We're going to fight. We're going to have a blow-off. You don't need sick wrestling matches or crazy high spots. You can tell a story through a regular wrestling match. For the blow-off, yeah, you want to have some blood. You want to have some sick high spots. You want the heel to pay for all the bad stuff he's done. And either A, get crushed at the end, or B, pull it out at the end. That's just the way it goes. With that being said, I mean, listen, look at Rick Rude against Jake the Snake Roberts, okay? They're feuding because Rick Rude was trying to hit on Jake Roberts' wife at the time. And then he put Jake Roberts' wife's face in his tights, et cetera, et cetera. It's not really that outlandish and that crazy of a feud if you think about it. It's a regular bad guy versus a good guy feud. The bad guy was doing what he normally does. He messed with the wrong guy's wife, and it went from there. Why are we not still doing these things?
Because they're trying to be cute. They're trying to be fancy. When it's real simple. Look at everything that's being rebooted. The classics work. We're going back to things that, back in the day, if a show was canceled, it was gone. Now shows come back. They're rebooted because the classics work. They touch the audience. You don't need to be super fancy. And I agree with what you were just saying about leading off to a blow-off. If you do a high spot in every match, it's not special. If you save those big high spots for the blow-off match, it's going to make that blow-off match so much more important. I'm fully in agreement with you on as far as they don't know what they're doing. It frustrates me. I can't even speak when it comes to WWE. And you know what WWE was to me. And I can't even speak to them. It's like trying to talk about an ex-girlfriend who got away. I just can't. don't make me go into a tantrum. Just don't do it.
I want to keep pushing it. It's if you look at NXT, for instance, when NXT first started, even with the takeovers, they saved a lot of those big high spots and a lot of those crazy high spots for the big blow-off matches. I feel like every match on a takeover now is just high spot after high spot after high spot. It's almost like they got the taste of a drug, and now they got carried away with it. Now they're addicted to it, and it's watering down the product. NXT has really, really been watered down over the last year or two. And, it's just, I have my issues with NXT when it comes to Velveteen Dream. He's really the only one I have an issue with. I just don't see it. I'm not going to see it. I don't see it. Simple as that. But it's high spot after high spot after high spot. Now, granted, in the last takeover, you had that Four Corners ladder match. You're expecting it to be a train wreck. It's a car accident. It's just one high spot after another high spot after another high spot, and I'm fine with that. That's how a match like that is supposed to be. But when you're having a 25-minute main event and literally the entire fucking match is one high spot after another, you're now defeating the purpose of a blow-off match.
Well, I think Mel thought he was in Japan because he gave it over 5 stars, and unless it happens in the Tokyo Dome, Big Dave doesn't give 5-star matches to WWE.
It's too many high spots. Now I know you and the IWC enjoy shit like that, but at what point are you still telling a story when it's one high spot after another?
Oh no, I agree. When we reviewed Takeover, that was one of my main points. on that Gargano and Cole match. The fact that it was the high spot, the false finish, the high spot, the false finish, the no sell. I mean, we talked about the reverse
The
Rana
worst.
that Cole
No
just got
selling is
right
the
back
worst.
up from. That should
No.
not have been no sold. That is a move that should not have been no sold. And you know,
Doing it
35
too
false
much. They're killing the
finishes,
product.
it's too much.
Killing the product by doing that too much.
But I do want to go circle back around out because there's something I've been wanting to talk to you the last couple of days about when it comes to AEW. We had a few episodes ago when we were leading up to Double or Nothing. We had a conversation about they made a mistake with the $50 price tag for the pay-per-view. Now they announced that the next two shows they're having over the summer are going to be free on the Bleacher Report live app, leading up to All Out in August, which is their next, tentpole pay-per-view. Which I wanted to ask what your opinion was, and if you feel this is a great strategy for them. I think it's a great strategy. Now that you're going to give some shows for free, so now the people who didn't want to pay have an opportunity to see what this product is. And if they love the product, they're going to get behind it. They're going to now pay in August. So I wanted to get your opinion on this.
I don't think they had a choice in the matter because I think
Khan.
right now, as popular as wrestling is, I think WWE has jaded a lot of fans. You know, if you think about it logically, as bad as WWE has gotten, what are you paying? $10 a month for it? You know? So you got to think about it in that context. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's painful to watch. But, it's almost like Netflix right now. Netflix, what are you paying? $12, $13 a month, whatever it is. I mean, outside of a couple of different shows, they're not giving you great movies, right? But you deal with it because it's Netflix, and if you're bored, you'll pop it on. There's something there to watch. I feel like WWE is kind of going down that same road now where it's $10 a month. What's the big fucking deal? But
they're affordable. That's the only reason they have an
there might be
audience
some
because
truth
they're
to that, to be honest with you.
affordable.
It's $10 a month, so who gives a shit? You keep the network, you watch your pay-per-views, you're not missing anything. Listen, if WWE was still charging $50 a pay-per-view, nobody would watch their fucking pay-per-view.
I agree.
Maybe they'd watch WrestleMania, and even that would be a hard fucking sell. Okay? So I watch all the pay-per-views because honestly, it's $10 a month. I pop on the network, I can watch it whenever I want. I can pause it, I can play it, I can rewind it. It's at my fingertips. So that being said, okay, great, I'll watch it. I think the issue with AEW is picking up on, which I said actually a few times before, is that they know WWE has pissed off a lot of the wrestling audience. And the average person may hear a name like Chris Jericho, for instance. Oh, it's a WWE guy. Why would I want to watch this? What do I give a shit? Kenny Omega. I never heard of this guy. Moxley. Oh, you mean Dean Ambrose? Didn't care from WWE. Why would I watch it now? And I think they realize where WWE has lost a lot of its main audience. I mean, the numbers for this week alone for Raw and SmackDown were all-time lows from what I understand.
Yes.
From what I'm gathering, Raw now is looking at TNA numbers that they had during the Hogan era. That's how bad things have gotten. So that being said, I think, their strategy people who are in charge of marketing and in charge of research might realize, you know what, we got a pissed off wrestling audience right now in North America that are basically watching more international stuff than WWE because they can't take it anymore. Let's give them a reason to watch us. Okay, we'll put on a free show. We'll get money from the actual arena itself. But by putting on this free show, maybe we find that niche audience that wants to watch us. Maybe that those WWE fans that are sick of the product look at our stuff and say, hey, wait, they got something here I want to watch. Or come October, we're blowing the ceiling off of whatever arena we're in, and our TV ratings are through the roof right now because all those fans are clamoring to watch us. So I think it's a brilliant strategy. I think it's a brilliant move. At the end of the day, I don't think they really had a choice in the matter. And I really blame WWE on this. And I think we discussed it before, whereas, AEW not taking off right away, you can put the argument in that it's WWE is to blame. When you look at WCW, for instance, as bad as they were at their worst, WWE wasn't much better. And like I said before, WWE is the standard bearer of wrestling. They're it. They're if you look at their crowds and you look at their ratings and you're an advertiser, you're thinking to yourself, okay, the number one guy in town is getting these numbers. What numbers are you going to get? This might be a situation where the advertisers have stated, listen, we got to see where your fan base is at. You got to show us an actual fan base. And who knows? There may be a deal between them and the advertiser which state, listen, we're going to look at your first 3, 4, 5 shows. If your numbers aren't showing us anything, take a hike. And, this might be one of those injections, so to speak, where they give away the free shows and they say, hey, look at us. We're here. Here's what we're giving you. Come watch us. It goes back to Bischoff and the MGM tapings, or the Disney tapings, rather, I mean. Those tapings were free, and people gave Bischoff a lot of shit for it, but Bischoff put it best. When he ran those tapings for free, he brought people into the WCW audience. Maybe this is part of that strategy where it says, you know what, let's bring people into the AEW audience.
Well, let me ask you a question, both of you guys a question, actually. How long, the wrestling fans are very unforgiving, so how long, when AEW starts, how long are fans going to give it before they give up and say, you know what, this is just another Impact, this is not going to be, the alternative? How long do you give it? How long will the fans give it?
Brandon, I'll let you answer first.
I think the fans are clamoring for something fresh and new, that they're not going to be a one and done type deal. I think they're going to stick a good 3 to 6 months before. If they can't do something in 3 to 6 months, I think then you might see a negative turnaround. But I don't think it's going to be a 1 month type thing, or when I watch a new show, I give it 3 episodes. If it doesn't catch me in 3 episodes, I'm done with it. I won't give it a shot. I don't think it's going to be a situation like that. Plus, they're showing that there's something different already. Just based on Double or Nothing on one show, based on one show, they freaking sold out Chicago.
Incredible. Yeah.
I'm going to totally disagree with you. I think right now wrestling fans in North America are so jaded and so pissed off. They're almost like a chick after she gets dumped by a guy who cheated on her. And she goes on a date, and the first guy she goes on a date with, if that guy sneezes, he's out the door. I think it's like that. I think if their first, I'd say 2 to 3 episodes aren't a hit, they're going to have a hard time catching the audience. And I say that because I think at this point, the North American wrestling fan who grew up with WCW, ECW, WWE, they're so jaded and so pissed off right now, you're going to have to catch them real quick. And I think if you don't, you're going to get that backlash. I think it's going to turn into another Impact if you don't, where people will watch it half-assed just to watch it. I think the only way you get that true attention on the North American wrestling fan is by blowing us away those first couple of episodes. Give us great matches, throw a couple of good storylines in there. If you go ridiculous on us, if you go and try to do stupid shit and try to be like WWE, for instance, in any way, shape, or form, all you're going to do is go down the same path as Impact. Where Impact fucked up is when they didn't realize American wrestling fans were pissed. Aside from you, Brandon, most wrestling fans were pissed off when WCW and ECW went down. That was a big, big loss in North American wrestling when WCW and ECW went down. We're feeling the effects of that till this day.
For the record, I'm shaking my head at you.
Let's call a spade a spade. When WCW went down and ECW went down, you did not give a shit.
That's bullshit. Just because I'm not mourning WCW 19 years after the fact doesn't mean back in 2001 I didn't give a shit. Same thing with ECW. And I'll tell you this, ECW more than WCW.
You should still be mourning it because those two companies dying is what we're seeing today. That's right. The effects of it.
I'm not going to mourn a company that closed their doors 19 years ago because of stupidity. Well, we had our mourning period. Now
we're in this shitty for the last 20 years almost. Yes. When was the last time WWE was really fucking good?
We discussed it.
Ruthless aggression. We're talking 02, 03, maybe into early 04. Okay? So if you go back to 2003, the WWE has not been good now for 16 fucking years.
past the mourning period. Like I said, 3 years after
you missed the
fact.
point. No one's
They
talking
went
about mourning
sick.
WCW. The point is WCW going down, ECW going down. This is the fucked up situation we're in right now. The whole point is if AEW does not blow us away, you're going to be looking at another Impact. That's all you're going to be looking at.
Well, let me ask you both. Why do you think this will be different than Impact? Why do you think AEW will be different than Impact? Sure.
Wait, before you answer that, Avi, we've answered this to Izzy.
Yes.
I'm going to put Izzy on the spot right now since
Yes.
we got him here finally after 10 weeks. You, unlike Avi and I, you were not all in when they first announced this. You called this
That's because I was
Impact
impressed about. See,
2.0.
I gave a lot of hope to Impact. I thought Impact was really going to be another WCW. It looked like WCW in their production. I really thought they were going to do it, and I got jaded by that.
Why exactly were you so down on AEW at the very beginning?
I'm going to say because the reason that I was really kind of like jaded, because I was jaded because Impact I really had a lot of high hopes in Impact in the 2000s. I thought, wow, finally, this is capitalism. One company fails, other people pick and have WCW and ECW in one brand, TNA, and it just failed to live up to expectations when they brought in Hogan and Bischoff. I was like, wow, this is going to be great, and that was another bomb. So it's like, I'm scared that this is going to be all hype.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Impact, even back when it was TNA, there was no hype. They started out doing weekly pay-per-views from Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
We watched it because we figured, okay, maybe they'll pick up where WCW left off. And for the most part, they did. They brought in Kevin Nash. They brought in Booker T at one point. They brought in Mick Foley at one point. They had Flair. They had Hogan. Hell, they had Savage there for a second. They brought in Sabu. They brought in Sam. I mean, I can't think of one guy they didn't bring in from the old WCW, ECW days. I think the only one they didn't bring in, honestly, was Goldberg.
True.
So to me, there wasn't much hope there. I figured it would be an alternative to watch, but I did not think it was going to make a dent in the wrestling business. When Hogan got there, for a second I thought to myself, okay, maybe this does lead to something.
Yep.
But I never had these high expectations. And also, Impact never pulled a sellout at their first pay-per-view in Vegas.
It's true. 5,500. That's the most Impact I think ever got. 5,500.
AEW sold out their first pay-per-view. They've now sold out their second show. It's coming up now. People are salivating over the October show. I just hope they really give us something to watch where we say, holy shit, we have our alternative. Because...
Well, to answer his question off, tell him what the difference between AEW and Impact's going to be. What does AEW have that Impact did not? The backing of a billionaire who's willing to spend money to make this.
It's going to have to be based on creative because, listen, Impact, even when they were TNA, they weren't a poor company. Granted, they didn't have the money that AEW has, but they still had more than enough. Listen, ECW had no money, and look what they did. It's going to be all about creative. The more money you have, you assume the better you're going to do as far as production goes, which I hope so. Production looked pretty good for the most part. My fear is going to be creative. Can they be creative enough to bring in the jaded WWE fans who have had enough of the WWE and their week in, week out bullshit? That's going to be the question. Or are they going to give us exactly what WWE gives us? Because let's be honest, when WCW first became WCW in 1991 and broke away from the NWA, everyone said they got Ted Turner's money backing them. And Ted Turner put a shitload of money into them. 1991 is let's go back even further. Ted Turner buys them in December of 88. 89 was probably their best year as far as money goes and ratings goes and stuff like that. Then Flair leaves in 91 and the bottom falls out. It takes them 4 years to become somewhat watchable, and that's not until 1995. Even bringing in Hogan and Savage, they were giving us the same stupid shit WWE was giving us with the Yeti and the Avalanche and the Zodiac and all the other crap they were giving us. So it never took off. When did it take off? When they stopped giving us the same shit WWE was giving us. When they started calling wrestlers by their real name. When they stopped with the bullshit, stupid angles. When they gave us a good angle. So what's it all based on? Creative. If ECW gave us nothing but those Japanese hardstyle matches they were giving us, with none of the creative stuff they have, if they didn't give us a Raven Tommy Dreamer feud with Beulah getting pregnant, if they didn't give us Taz with Bill Alfonso and that angle leading up to Sabu, people forget ECW had some ridiculously good angles. I remember even the Pitbull's Eliminators had a great angle. The Gangsters and the Eliminators had a great angle. All about creative. What are you giving me on the creative front? You can give me 25-star matches in one night. Doesn't mean I'm going to follow you regularly until you give me creative. New Japan, for instance, is a perfect example. New Japan gives us great matches. I'm not following it religiously for the simple fact there's nothing there creatively. It's just matches. That's all it is. It's almost like watching MMA. You turn it on, you get your 2 to 3 really good matches, and you turn it off, and you're left with no impression. There's nothing to look forward to except for the next batch of matches. But if you look back at your biggest angles ever, Austin McMahon, NWO, whatever ECW was doing, you tuned in and week out, not for the matches, for the angle. The matches became secondary to the angle. You wanted to see, holy shit, what's going to happen next? Is this guy going to turn? Is that guy going to turn? That's what brought you into the matches. That's where AEW needs to be different than WWE and needs to be different from Impact. Impact never gave us those compelling storylines. I think the best storyline Impact ever had was your Aces and Eights. Literally, that's the best thing they ever gave us. WWE has not had anything even remotely compelling since what? Summer of Punk? WCW was giving us WWE 2.0 for the most part until they had the NWO angle. And they took that and ran with it as long as they could, not realizing they could just bring other things. Listen, McMahon-Austin gave birth to how many other angles? And that's what AEW has to differentiate themselves as. They have to give us the angles. They have to give us creative. They're the ones that are going to have to make this happen. It's not going to be the guys in the ring. Because as we know from every single week in WWE, the guys in the ring are only as good as the angles they're part of. So when it comes to AEW, it's going to be all about creative.
Well, let's go back to Moxley, because you mentioned it earlier. Why you want to know why he's wrestling indie shots, and I think he's got more of a chance of getting hurt wrestling for New Japan than working with Big Cass in Six Flags, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a smart idea to let them being AEW, let Moxley work the New Japan style. That's a better shot of getting hurt than, I think, working a stupid 5-minute gimmick.
Either way, it's stupid.
Big Cass, don't you?
There's no worse than the other. I mean, at the end of the day, it reminds me of those athletes that drive a motorcycle. You're making money off your body. You're making a living off your body. I'd be driving a freaking tank if I was a professional athlete. The last thing I want to do is get hurt doing something stupid. To me, if you're a professional wrestler and you're wrestling for WWE or AEW, which means you're actually capable of making serious money, wrestling in an indie show is like driving a motorcycle. You don't know who put that ring together. How many botch fests have we seen where the ring falls apart at one of these indie shows? Okay? You have no idea who's putting the ring together. You have no idea who you're even wrestling a lot of times. Right? So you got to look at it in this sense where, why is he risking everything he could do for this nonsense? I mean, think about it. What's the most he really could have gotten paid the other night? You're at a show at a Six Flags, but what did he have? 3,700 people. Let's say he made $5,000. Yep. Is a $5,000 paycheck really worth risking millions for? I mean, I don't know about his finances, but I'm relatively certain at one point he was making close to $1 million a year working for WWE. I'm pretty sure he saved some of that money. Granted, Renee Young may not be a cheap date, but I'm pretty sure he's got some money saved up.
Plus, I'm sure he's not getting paid pennies.
Right. So why are you wrestling
So
at
she's
some
got money
bullshit
coming in too.
card somewhere at a fucking Six Flags?
you asked me that, I think it was 2 days ago, and I think the only idea in my head, and we know we'll take what my thoughts with a grain of salt because we know how I think, is just the passion to wrestle and not wanting to wait 5 more months, or what is it, 3.5 more months to be able to wrestle. Or to
And
just
get
wrestle
exposure
2
too.
matches
And then
before
on ring
October.
rust, you know?
Because
You know what, though? There's easier ways and better ways to get over ring rust. He can go to any wrestling school in the country and move around if he has to. To me, it was too much of a risk. I just don't agree with what he did. To me, it's just, I don't know. I just, if I was his manager, if I was his business agent, I would say, what the hell are you doing? You blow your knee out, then what? Listen, you can blow out your knee walking down the steps in your house. You could trip over your cat. You could trip over your dog. You could slip on a wet tile getting out of the shower. There's always some kind of risk of getting hurt somewhere in life. But why increase the risk? By the way,
there was one other thing about
who do you work
Moxley I
with?
wanted to bring up to you. He was at this show
And Enzo.
yesterday with Big Cass.
That's who he worked with? He wrestled.
Cass and Enzo.
Yep. Cass put an open challenge out, and Moxley answered, and he beat him with the Dirty Deeds DDT,
Yep.
and he nailed Enzo with it, and that was it.
I mean, listen. Maybe listen. Love for the business, this, that, and the third. I don't know. I mean, you're not on TV. You're not really putting yourself any more out there being on this bullshit show. I don't know. To me, there was no rhyme or reason for it. I can't understand why you would risk potentially millions. Think about it for a second. Let's just say AEW next show is a hit. It will be, obviously. It's already sold out. The show off that, I'm sure, is going to sell it also. That's also going to be a hit. Have they announced that show's going to be yet? Okay.
No.
My question now becomes this. It's a hit for both shows. You're going to go to your first ever show on TNT. Let's just say either your second or your third show is him against Kenny Omega. Steve Moxley can work pretty well, as a match New Japan showed us. We know Kenny Omega can work. That could be your first ever big money match for an organization trying to get off the ground. If I'm Cody, if I'm Omega, or any of the guys working backstage, I'm having this pep talk with Mox. Like, listen, dude, hang out in a wrestling school. Wrestle with us. What are you doing at a fucking Six Flags?
Yeah. Crazy.
And if you think about it, there are other independent companies out there he could have worked for. I'm fine with him working New Japan. He could have worked for Evolve, which is an independent company, as we know. He could have done a show for Ring of Honor for all we care. He could have worked the show for Impact if he wanted to stay loose. No one's stopping him. But at least make it worth your while where you're getting TV exposure.
You know, he's getting internet exposure, but the thing that really scares me is I watched the clip, and the crowd didn't even really pop that much for him. So I was like, is it hurting his name by doing this? I mean, I don't see even many positives here.
He has to shake off WWE. That's going to take him a little while. He's going to have to get on TV with AEW. He's going to have to establish the name, John Moxley or Mox, whatever they're going to call him. But really, he's going to have to come down to it's going to take him a little while. He has to shake off the stench of WWE.
How is he? This is the question I wanted to ask. How is he going to shake that stench off when he doesn't stop talking about WWE? Now, do you think he's being defined by being that disgruntled ex-worker? Because all he does is talk about how bad it was over there.
It's old, it's stupid. It's almost like listening to your friend cry about their ex for like 6 months straight. You know, the first couple of days you give him some sympathy. Even the first month you give him some sympathy. And, you know, now 6 months later you're out on a Saturday night and a girl walks by and the guy goes, hey, doesn't that remind you of my ex? Now it's getting a little ridiculous. And that's kind of what he sounds like. It's like, you know, dude, Dean Ambrose is dead, right? The character's dead. You're John Moxley now. Move on. Move on smartly. Get away from these stupid indie shows at a fucking Six Flags. Go to Evolve. Go to Ring of Honor. Go to Impact. Go to New Japan. Stay in New Japan. You're the fucking U.S. champion. Stay in Japan for a few months. Wrestle a couple of matches. Get your name out there. Get your recognition on TV. That way when you do show up on AEW, no one's saying, who? Like, think about it. What's his name? Tyler Breeze. He's in AEW now. Is it Tyler Breeze? He's in AEW.
Who was that?
Who's in AEW? What's his name?
He's going back to NXT.
He's a former NXT WWE guy.
Oh, he's on. Oh, wait. Oh, I got to think now.
AEW's roster. Oh,
You're not thinking about Juice, are you?
Juice AEW? He would be. That'd be
No,
great.
that's why I was wondering.
Hold on. Let's check right now.
So while Avi's looking this up, Izzy, are you all in? Or are you still
I
on
got to
the
admit, I'm really impressed with the sellouts. I've never seen, like I was saying before, debuting federations selling out. So their hype machine is really doing a good job. I have high hopes. I just hope that they don't go back to that silly spot fest stuff we were talking about with that style like NXT and a lot of the independents do, where you constantly have no psychology, it's no selling, constant back and forth. I mean, I didn't see much of that in AEW, but there was potential for it. So I'm scared that they'll go that route. Hopefully they don't. I mean, I thought Cody and Dustin was great. I thought that a couple of it's got potential. It really does. So I hope it's not another Impact. I think these sellouts are indicative of the fact that it might not be, and it might actually give WWE a run for their money.
Well, they're definitely riding on, a wave of momentum that they need to stay on top of and keep capitalizing up until October. And they need to have that. That first show needs to be a blowaway show. The scary part for me is we don't even know what day yet.
Yeah.
We don't know how long of a show they're going to have. Are they only going to have an hour? Are they going to have 2 hours? What day of the week it's going to be on? How about this? The question, how much, depending on the day of the week, how much are they going to
do you also feel it's a mistake, too, that they're waiting before I know they got the October slot, but they're doing these shows with no real, I wonder if it kills the momentum by just kind of not having a show to kind of follow up their sellout show, not to have a televised show. I don't know.
That goes back to we got to see what the creative is going to be in October. Once they are able to, it's going to be a completely different animal doing a show once a month to doing TV.
There's a lot of moving parts there. You have a lot of you have to produce segments. You have to have producers. You got to have writers. And you got to make sure that it's a legitimate show with a rundown from A to Z. And you got to make sure.
Jump in. Hold on. Just do me a favor, please.
Yes.
AEW. Go look up. They have all that.
I know they do. I know, but let's see what happens with the show. That's all. They're going to be a different animal when they get on air weekly.
Yes and no. I mean, listen, these guys have all been in wrestling federations before. These aren't like a couple of guys hanging around saying, let's start up a wrestling federation. They've all been backstage at WWE. Listen, Cody Rhodes, I'm pretty sure Dusty Rhodes gave him the rundown how to run a wrestling federation.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll be good. I just worry about Impact because they had a lot of great guys too, and it was a flop in the end,
Who was their creative?
Maybe
you got to stop comparing it to Impact. For the simple fact is, who was running Impact's creative?
Tell me. I mean, you had Vince Russo, who you despise. I know you hate Vince Russo.
Enough said. Vince fucking Russo.
You hate him. You hate Vince Russo.
Okay, what's the like about him?
Well, first of all, I mean, I've always felt that he really did help turn around the wrestling war, but he also had Vince McMahon to be his editor, to kind of he was there to make sure that certain ideas didn't get to TV, and he just kind of filtered out the bad ones, really. But when he got on his own, he ruined WCW. So
the man destroyed 2 wrestling federations.
He did.
WCW and TNA. What else is there to discuss about the guy?
But after his damage with TNA, I mean, there were plenty of other people in there. Dusty Rhodes was there, right? Am I wrong? Wasn't he also on the team, on the creative team for a while?
I don't think he's ever on creative. I think he came on the air a couple of times, but I don't think he was
always. It was Jeff Jarrett, Vince Russo, Jim Cornette had a hand in it for a while. Dutchman had a hand in it for a while. Who?
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce Prichard was never a creative guy. He was more he was more of a producer than anything else. He was never big with the whole creative process of feuds and stuff like that. Not in WWE, at least. In Impact, he was. They never had a solid creative team. That's the whole thing. I think it goes back to a solid creative team is really what's going to make this work or not. And I think they may have one. You know what I do like in AEW, who I think has a future, is Lucha Brothers.
But I'm glad you brought them up. Breaking news: they just
Yes,
won
they
the
did.
AAA
That
tag
is true.
titles
You are
from the
correct.
Young
I'm reading that
Bucks.
right now, as a matter of fact.
So that's see, right now they're using outside organizations to build their storylines. And until they have their show in October,
They're,
that's
they're
what they
being
need
smart
to do.
about things. Listen, it's obviously working because they're selling out. Okay, when was the last time WWE sold out anything?
They didn't even sell out Saudi Arabia. There was 21,000 people there. They couldn't even sell out a
Yeah,
freaking country they go to
yeah,
twice
that's
a year.
true.
We're not even talking the European tour where they're doing 14 shows over 2 weeks. They do literally 2 shows a year in Saudi Arabia, and they couldn't even sell it out.
This is interesting. Actually, I never knew this. Double or Nothing more buys than ECW's biggest show ever. It's the biggest pay-per-view in wrestling history that was not produced by WWE or WCW. And never has anybody in the history of combat sports gotten that many pay-per-view buys without a regular TV contract since Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock, Chuck Liddell, and Tito Ortiz fights from UFC. That's how big that was.
That's insane. I just hope they don't end up being too big to fail and they get too cocky. If they end up getting too cocky because of all this early success, that could be a
Why
big
would they get
mistake
cocky?
as well. We're riding high on the success of all these sellouts and stuff. You got to remember, play humble.
These aren't
Because if you
17-year-old
do get
kids playing spin the fucking bottle or going out and getting drunk so many girls they can hook up with. It's a fucking professional company. We're not talking about high school and college kids hooking up with girls.
So you don't think that people can let quick success get to their head and get cocky?
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my time. Izzy, take this one away, please. Get cocky about what?
No, it's not. It's not nothing to get cocky about. It's a surprising thing. If anything, they got 2 sellouts. That's great, but if anything, they got to. They're they have a lot of fans that they need to deliver to. So if anything, there's pressure. It's not about cocky. They have to deliver now. So
What are you cocky
there's a
about?
lot of
Because
hype they need to.
they shows? Well, what's the
Yeah,
cockiness?
yeah.
I didn't say they are cocky. I said I just hope they don't get cocky.
What can they possibly get cocky about?
If anything, they're excited and they know that they have, like I said, they have to deliver to the fans. So if anything, instead of cocky, there's a lot more pressure on them now because they know that they have to deliver come
Exactly.
October. So I don't know.
What
Cocky.
possibly can they get cocky about?
Who knows? I'm just making in general. I hope
What
they
are they
don't
going to
get
get
too
cocky about? If anything, there's more pressure on them to perform.
I hope they perform because honestly, they are basically Obi-Wan Kenobi, Charles Princess
What
Leia.
can they
They're
get
our
cocky
only
about,
hope.
though? That's success.
When success gets to your head,
If anything, it's more pressure to be better.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
How are you going to get cocky? You haven't even started yet. If anything, it's more pressure to become better and better and better. Cocky about what?
I can't answer cocky about why. I don't know what they could be. I'm just saying. I was just saying in general. I hope they don't get too
They're
cocky.
going to get cocky. If anything, there's
That's
more
all
pressure on them to get even better. I just don't understand where you're going with this.
It was just a simple statement. I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't have a trajectory to go with it. I was just saying that I just hope they don't let the success get to their head too quickly, and they're able to produce the exact thing they want to give.
If anyone's cocky WWE right now because they think that because TNA didn't really make a dent in 20 years, that they think they can just AEW, and then that might bite them in the ass in the end. I think they're not paying attention to them, and it's gonna be a good thing.
Oh, I think it's the opposite. I think they're honestly scared. They may not show it. The fact that they're locking everyone into 5-year deals and they're not letting anyone be released.
Avi said a billionaire doesn't have to worry unless he has to worry. And right now, they don't have to worry right now. They're still making money.
They're not scared. They're not kids that are scared. They're locking people into contracts. It's called business. This is called being business smart. Being scared, they do business.
6 months ago, if someone requested a release,
I don't think they're doing business.
Now,
what's fear to do with anything? That's called doing business. Why am I going to give somebody else to my fucking competitor? There's a guy that's coming around that wants to compete. Why the fuck am I going to help them? That's called business. They don't do it being scared.
It's only 2 sold out shows. There's really nothing to be scared at yet. I mean, it might be a dud. We don't know yet in October. It's all speculation. They're not thinking about that right now. They're thinking about their current product.
What has me really scared? No, I'm just not going to give my competition other guys that I have. I'm pretty sure Vince McMahon's not saying, "Oh my God, I'm really afraid of the revival going to AEW."
I don't know.
He doesn't want to make sure they're cocky. Now Vince McMahon is scared. What other emotions are we coming up with tonight?
Well, this is what the IWC says. I see people leaving comments saying like, "Oh, AEW is giving them a run for their money. Vince is scared." I'm like, one show is a run for their money? What? How's there a run for their money? I don't get it.
Let's go through the emotions Brandon apparently thinks we're going to have. So AEW can't get too cocky. Vince McMahon is scared. Let's go for another one. Is somebody crying, Brandon?
So you think that AEW's not even on Vince's radar at all?
Honestly, I think he knows they exist, but I'm pretty sure he's not losing sleep over them. I'm certain he's not losing sleep over them.
Well, we can see from Monday Night Raw, it's not like he's losing any sleep over them, or SmackDown, because they're still banging against the wall.
If he was really that nervous about them, you'd see a real big change in the company. Or at least you'd see a change in something. It's
I have a feeling we're not going to see any change anytime soon.
It's I don't even know if it's a matter of Vince changing because he's forced to. I think he's gotten almost too big at this point where I just think WWE is going to be the way it is. It's Jim Cornette put it best. Does McDonald's serve a good hamburger? No. Are they going to change? No. There are plenty of restaurants that serve a far better hamburger than McDonald's. You go to them every day to get that Big Mac? No. You go to McDonald's, you get your Big Mac. Does it taste like shit? Yeah. Are they going to change because you say it tastes like shit? No. I think that's what WWE is now. WWE, for all intents and purposes, is the McDonald's of wrestling.
Do you think that Fox, if the ratings are in the shits, are going to force his hand to change? Or do you think that's not even a possibility?
This might be one of those contracts where Vince could just say, "Fuck you, I'm doing what I have to do." Listen, WWE ratings are never going to drop that badly. You've seen WWE at its worst during the war. They're literally the only one watching that night sometimes, I feel like. Right. While the whole world is watching Luger and Hogan, you're watching Owen Hart and Dude Love.
No, he did not.
Saw
He did
Luger
not.
and Hogan for the last time. Were you in my bedroom?
You watched Dude Love and Owen Hart instead of Luger and Hogan and Luger beating for the title. This is so true.
You stop. You're just riding his coat.
I'm sorry. Your exact words to me were as follows. If Raw was taped I could watch Raw also. But since it's not taped, I'm going to watch Raw live, and I'll watch Nitro later on when I can.
And I flipped and saw the freaking
Because Raw
backbreaker.
ended and WCW was running over.
I was flipping back. When you stop, I always flip back and forth. Despite all your ramblings for all these years that I was also pro WWE, I always flip back and forth. Oh, bullshit. That's a lie. I will swear on my children that is one episode of Nitro I
Hogan dropping the
definitely
leg
watched
on
live
Macho
over
during
Raw.
NWO. Did you watch that live? Did you watch it when it happens? I don't think so.
Yes. You're out of your mind. You're smoking way
He
too
did
much
call
again.
me, and as soon as I picked up the phone, I heard. So in his defense, he did watch that.
Okay.
It's about that time you actually have.
Avi just made me think of something. What happens? What happens if WWE is a bust on Fox? What happens if WWE is a bust on Fox?
That's exactly what I just said. And
it's not even that. I mean,
we don't know what the contract says.
WWE, like I said, even at its worst points in the war, when it was god awful, and literally Brand was probably the only person I knew that was watching. I mean,
I love it.
You know, listen, look how bad it is now. People are still watching it.
Yeah.
AEW is not going head to head, so no one's going to stop watching Raw and turn on AEW. No one's going to stop watching SmackDown and turn on AEW. You know, so they have their fans. They're going to get their watches. They're going to get their advertising money. They're going to get whatever they need to get. You know, the bottom line is they're not in this perilous situation where they're going to lose their fan base because of AEW. Even if AEW does take off, people are still going to watch WWE because WWE is WWE. Simple as that. Jim Cornette put it best. I'm going to say it again. McDonald's does not make a good hamburger. Does everyone eat McDonald's? Yes.
I actually don't, for the record.
But
fuck you. I've lost weight. I've dropped the pant size, motherfucker. Fuck off.
You know, even that being said, you know, it's listen. Can you get a better taco than Taco Bell's taco? Okay.
Oh yes, you
Taco Bell
can.
changing their taco anytime soon? Okay, so the same. You have to look at WWE the same way. Are you going to get better wrestling on AEW? Yeah. Are you going to get better matches on Impact? Probably. Are you going to get better matches on New Japan? Definitely. Are you going to get better angles on AEW? More than likely. But is that going to force them to change? No. McMahon changed during the wrestling war because he had no other choice. He was in the middle of a war. He's not going to war with AEW. AEW is doing their thing, their night, their channel. WWE is going to do their thing. Anybody who thinks, and I hate the people that say, oh, McMahon always is better under pressure, there is going to be no pressure.
You don't even go head to head?
Because they've learned before, going head to head does nothing good for anybody. Somebody eventually has to lose.
I'm going to throw this at you. How about this? It's not going to be a wrestling company if WWE is going to change. It's going to be a football company that's going to force the change because once the XFL starts, Vince might actually be more with the XFL and might actually let other people
but he's still,
take the creative reins.
Vince. He's still going to have the final say in everything. You know, at the end of the day, I just don't think it's going to change all that much. And let's just say they go to the NXT in-ring style. That's not going to change the creative. Let's be honest. Is NXT creative that much different than WWE creative?
I think it's a totally different animal than WWE creative. I mean, we're still obviously in the same bubble, but I think as far as from a creative standpoint, there's more of a storyline and more cohesive than WWE. You get shit in WWE that doesn't even make fucking sense.
Like I said, WWE had to change during the war because they were at war. Okay, if WCW was on Wednesday nights and you had Wednesday Nitro, we'd still be watching, you know, the Headbangers against the LOD as your main event on Raw. But it had to change because Nitro took it to that next level with the NWO, with those hot angles. If it's hot on Wednesday night, it's still not going to affect Vince because he's still going to have Monday and Friday night to do whatever the fuck he wants.
It was actually interesting. I read this week that none of the major McMahons who run creative were at the show. Vince wasn't there. Triple H wasn't there. Stephanie
The
wasn't
same
there. Even
crap you
Kevin
see
Dunn
week in and
wasn't
week
there.
out. So what does that tell you?
Exactly. But, well, this has been fun. At least this is one podcast we know Izzy actually listened to of ours.
I'm happy to be on. Anytime you want objective third head.
Let me anytime we want. I'm sorry. Obviously, taking the test. Anytime we want.
I know, just the timing was never good. I was always at some sort of event, so I think.
Oh my God! Stop!
I'm in it to win it, baby. I'm in it to win it. And June 29th and June 30th, Johnny Rods has 2 shows, so hopefully I'll be able to wrestle in one of them. June 29th I can't, but 30th. And I will be a heel. Maybe.
That's
A
it.
heel, motherfucker!
Oh, yeah.
Double cheeseburger, double fries, double onions, extra mayo, motherfucker! Well, Will You Stop Podcast.com. That's your one-stop destination for all our social media. That's how you can get in touch with us. Ask us any questions we want. Tell us if you like the 3-man booth that we're presenting you today. Or did you prefer the 2-man booth that we've been doing for the last 9 weeks? Let us know what you think.
Thank you.
Izzy, thanks for joining us. I'm sure it'll be another 9 weeks
I'm happy
before
to
you
be
join
regular.
us.
God bless.
And next week, well, we do have a pay-per-view coming up next weekend. Yes.
Oh my God, let me get the card out so I can actually even the
verbal doesn't even make sense. Stomping ground. It should be stomping ground.
So here's your card. I guess let's just go over this real quick just to. Oh my God! So here we go. Here are your matches: Bayley versus Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown Championship. Okay,
all right.
Been there, done that. Reigns McIntyre in a regular match. I'm fine with that. Reigns McIntyre in a good feud. I'm fine with that. Lynch, Lacey Evans. If somebody could please explain Lacey Evans to me, I'm all ears.
Vince. That's what
Rollins
Vince likes her.
versus
That's
Baron Corbin. Next, please. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
There's a caveat to that.
Hold on. There's a special guest referee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Paul Heyman would make a great special guest referee, wouldn't you?
That would actually make sense from a storyline perspective, which
Something
means it won't
tells
happen.
me that your referee in this is probably going to be like Shane McMahon. I was thinking that might be a possibility. That'd be fun to watch. Yeah, I know.
That's actually going to be revealed tomorrow night on
Kofi
Raw.
Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler in a cage with no blood. Won't be.
Why? Why Dolph Ziggler though? Why?
This all stems because Kevin Owens didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. So now they inserted Dolph into this program, and I think they're kind of almost punishing Kevin
Dolph
Owens
Ziggler's
by
not
having him not on TV.
He's not ready for this. He shouldn't be a world champion, or at least a main eventer. Yeah.
He's not going to
Remember, Shane McMahon's supposed to win the belt.
That's true. Oh, God.
But then I heard that the next pay-per-view, which is the Philadelphia show, the Extreme Rules, is going to be a 3-way with Kevin Owens and Dolph.
Actually, that's not a bad match. But anyway, you have a match for the Cruiserweight title that no one's going to give a shit about. Tony needs to be decided. And Samoa Joe is supposed to be wrestling somebody for the U.S. Championship to be decided as well. So it's a 7-match pay-per-view so far.
Right.
And it looks like absolute dog shit.
I just don't get it.
Right, but it's going to be bullshit, but I'm going to bring this up.
Agreed.
7 matches is better than 12. You give guys time to build some psychology and some storyline in their match in the ring. Substance over freaking 27 matches in 4 hours. But
it is. I'm sure we'll be here to discuss it as it goes on.
We'll be here next weekend Same Will You Stop Time, same Will You
Thank
Stop
you.
channel. Izzy, thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure,
Bobby?
Brandon.
As always,
Bye.
See you.
see you guys soon.